so you understand the basics of chess, and it's time to pick your main opening. Now, are you going to read hundreds of books on opening theory to decide, or are you going to pick the one with the coolest sounding name? I thought so. In the next 5 minutes, you're going to learn how to play the Queen's Gambit so well that you'll be emasculating Russians and abusing tranquilizers in no time. It goes like this: d4, d5, and then c4, offering black a free pawn. Don't worry, the offer is a scam. If they take it, it's called the Queen's Gambit accepted, and it's good for white. When they do, play e3, attacking the pawn with your bishop. Amateur players will try to keep the extra pawn by protecting it with b5. When you see this move, get excited, because it means you're playing against an idiot. Play a4. If they take it, take on c4, you have a way better position. You're going to get both pawns back, and now black has no control over the center. The good news is they will do something even stupider. They will play c3, and you will win an unholy number of games with this exact continuation. Take the pawn, and after they recapture, play queen f3, attacking the rook. The only way to save it is to give up the knight, take the piece, win the game, and enjoy this brief moment of success before you return to your worthless, pathetic life. Moving on, black's best move after accepting the gambit is to play e5. If you take it, it ruins your position. So don't take it, you greedy, short-sighted imbecile. Take on c4 instead, and then you will trade on d4. From here, develop normally like this, and you have a comfortable position with active pieces. Play h3 early, because otherwise this will be extremely annoying. If they don't do the same thing, pin them, and the pin will be extremely annoying for them. If they do the same thing, put your bishop on e3 and your development is complete. The Queen's Gambit declined. Whenever you offer black this free pawn and they don't take it, this is the Queen's Gambit declined. There are a few ways this can play out. The easy way, the standard way to play the Queen's Gambit, is to play knight c3, adding pressure to the d5 pawn. Black plays knight f6 defending, and then play bishop g5. This pins the knight, and also gets the bishop outside of the pawn chain. Now we can play e3 without blocking our bishop in with pawns. Develop your other knight, and black does the same thing with knight bd7. Play rook c1, and then develop your bishop. Black will often wait for you to play bishop d3 before they take the c-pawn, which makes you waste tempo. This is annoying, but not annoying enough to make it bad. Once your bishop is developed, castle, you get to this position or something pretty similar. Your development is complete, you have more central control and more space. You can expand in the center, contest the open c-file, you can attack black's king, lock down the position with a3 and b4. The options are really only limited by your talent, which in your case is bad news. The Slav defense. This is when black plays c6 defending d5. It doesn't look very scary, but it is. There are two easy ways to play against the Slav. Number one, play e3 immediately. This allows you to develop normally without worrying about any complicated pawn tension bullshit. Bring your knights to f3 and c3 like this, and play queen c2 and bishop d3. If they take the c-pawn, recapture with the bishop. Black will play b5, and then you return your bishop to d3. This is the setup you're going for against the Slav. You can go for e4, turn to e5, black plays e5 to defend, and then bring your bishop to g5. This pins the black knight, completes your development, and gives you a strong active position. Alternatively, you can lock down a position with a3 and b4, or go for this pretentious but mostly pointless knight maneuver. It's up to you. Number two, the exchange Slav. This is basically the same thing as the exchange French. By trading this pawn, you create an extremely symmetrical game that usually ends up as a 20-move draw by agreement. On the bright side, it is extremely easy, and it will annoy the shit out of your opponent. So it's up to you. Moving on, the Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation. This is the most powerful weapon the d4 player has that does not involve physical assault. It goes d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, mnc takes d5. After the exchange, play bishop g5, threatening to take the knight and double their pawns. The bishop defends, then play e3, bishop d3, queen c2, knight f3, and then castle. This is the setup you're going for in the exchange variation. You get this exact position pretty much every time, but if you don't, I guess you should have watched a longer video. Moving on. Black plays knight f8, which isn't as stupid as it looks. The idea is to come to e3, attacking the bishop, and then play g6, put the knight on g7, and then trade their bad bishop for your good bishop like this. The good news is that while they're performing this excessively complicated garbage, you have a very simple, very effective plan. Attack on the queen side, play rook b1, and push the b-pawn to break up their structure. If they play a5, support the advance with a3. Black has three options, and you'll do the same thing against all of them. If g6, play b4. Pawn takes, pawn takes. After knight e6, retreat your bishop and keep on pushing. Knight g7, and now play b5. If they take it, recapture, and the structure is ruined. If they play bishop f5, trade on c6 and then play knight e5. The c-pawn is extremely weak. The rook can come to the 6th or the 7th rank anytime at once. The knight is perfectly placed, and you have an amazing position. If knight e4, take on e7, then play b4 and b5. If knight g6, play b4 and b5. The goal is always to trade on c6 and then pressure the weak c-pawn. It's very easy to play, and it's very hard to defend.